see and hear us. That
Hi,
would be the
people.
best thing ever. Yay! Arwen says we could see and hear you. Fantastic. Okay, good. Oh my goodness. All right. We're just like, thank you, universe. Just putting it out to the universe. Thank you. Let's keep it up for the next hour. And we're just so excited to have
Ready?
you here. Yay, we're on. Yay, we're already seeing people.
Hold on, I have to Instagram this. I'm just kidding.
We could do it.
I gotta take a photo of my food. Do you mind?
I gotta take a photo of like my legs in the sun. And the
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do a selfie. Excuse me.
Listen, it all goes into our blogging promotions.
Yeah, it
Right?
does, doesn't it? So what do you want me for? What am I here for? What am I doing? What's the point?
Here's what we're doing.
Talk to me.
Here's what we're doing. Okay, so let's do a little intro. You guys, we are so casual and just off the cuff here. We are having a really fun time. Holly is joining us from Germany, where it is like the end of the day, at the end of the week. I'm joining you from New Jersey, where it is the beginning of the day on a Friday. I love starting my Fridays like this. Welcome to my monthly Women of the World interview series, where I interview full-time entrepreneurs. I like to call them women of the world, who are just like experts in their stuff. And then I tap them on the shoulder and I go, oh my God, you're the expert in this thing. Please come on. And Holly is the expert in blogging.
Yeah, sorry, I was busy. I was busy experting.
You are experting in blogging, photography, writing, and being funny and hot.
Wow.
So that's what we're going to talk about. Blogging, photography, writing, being funny and hot. So I love that you guys have already found the chat. Please tell us where in the world you're joining us from. We're seeing, Danny says it's lunchtime here in Brazil. I just love seeing how we're reaching.
Do people in Brazil just dance all the time in really beautiful outfits?
I think so. In bikinis and like feathers.
Yeah.
That's how it is, right, Danny?
Right. Hi, Toronto.
Yay, Ari from Toronto, Andy in Virginia Beach.
Yay.
Yay. And, you know, I do this live because I want to be able to get you guys all together and also be here to answer your questions. So while I'd love to have Holly all to myself for hours upon hours and I could talk her face off, we're here because I know you guys have questions about blogging. And so I want you, and I always forget where this is on your screen. Arwen, if I say the wrong thing, then please correct it in the chat. But there should be a Q&A button that you see on your screen. And when you have a question, please put it in that Q&A field. Otherwise, I can't read the chat while I'm talking to Holly, because then I get my brain just
she can't multitask.
I can't do that. I can't do that, you guys.
Not happening.
Yes, and when you send a chat, make sure you choose everyone and the little blue button with the drop down. Otherwise, it could go to just like panelists or just whatever, and we're not going to see that because Holly and I aren't going to be like really paying attention. We'd also love in the chat, if you have a blog, please put the URL to your blog, and then everyone can check out each other's blogs and follow each other, and we'd love to check them out, and that would be friggin' fantastic.
No shame in self-promo.
No shame at all. Okay, Holly, give everyone who might be new to you just a little blurb as to who you be and what you do.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Okay, so who am I? Yeah, I'm Holly Becker. I'm from Decorate. I've been writing a blog called Decorate for 11 years. I started when I was 8 years old. I started working and doing design projects when I lived in Boston, and I started a blog, and pretty much grew it up into a. It's pre-teen years now, so it's talking back to me. And 11 years old, so it's getting a little hormonal and bitchy. 11 years in this career, and I'm really happy because what I'm doing is I'm writing, I'm promoting brands. I'm working for very large companies, doing all types of interesting projects for them, trend scouting and journalism, writing, copy, just everything you can think of, and helping people to really really understand how bloggers work as well. It's another part of my business. I go into big companies, I sit in boardrooms, and I tell them, this is how we do it. And they basically learn from me how this all works, because there's such a big misconception with blogging and who we are and what we're doing and how much do we charge. And I set them straight. I do it. I go in there and I do it. I bring it and I tell them how it works. And a lot of the discussions get pretty interesting to learn, like on the other side of the glass, what people really think about blogging. So I'm educating people. I also have eClasses website, bloggingyourway.com, where I teach online. I've been teaching there from 2009 till present.
I was in that first group.
Yeah. Write books. I'm writing my 5th book now, number 5. And that's going to be really different from anything I've done before. So fasten your seatbelt. It's really very different.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So that's what I do in a nutshell. I write stuff. I talk.
It's fabulous. And everyone, Arwen put all of Holly's links in the chat. So please check it out, especially the Blogging Your Way class starts next week and registration's open right now. So that was my very first like online class, like build my business class that I took back in 2009, and it really kind of shaped my business in a really big way. But I'd love
we met in New York.
And we met in New York. I felt so special. You like were
doing Ace Hotel lobby in your cute dress.
Oh, you're so sweet. I don't even remember what I was wearing, but I remember being like, oh my God, I'm meeting Holly Becker and all these like fantastic design people, and they're all gonna look so great, blah, blah, blah. And it was a really, really fun time. You just attract really nice, wonderful people. Super great.
Yes, I do.
You do.
It was nice. I remember meeting Karen Mordecai that day too, from Sunday Suppers.
Yeah.
And I met a lot of people that day came to the book launch party, and then we all met at the Ace Hotel, and I remember that. And you guys have always been there ever since. I mean, I met Jenna from Whimsy and Spice and Nicole Robertson.
Yeah.
And it's like the old school group, you know, like we've all been we've known each other since the beginning. So
you got to come back to New York City.
Yeah, I do.
Come back. Got to come back.
So what do we want to teach people today? What do they want? What do you guys want to hear?
We'd love to hear your questions. Don't wait for me to say like, no, we're going to take your questions, because then we have to wait for your questions to come in. But while we're waiting for your questions, because we haven't seen anything come through yet, I'd love to hear, Holly, why you started your blog 11 years ago, what the blogging landscape was like back then, and how it's changed now.
Yeah, well, I started my blog because it was kind of unknown territory. I was doing a lot of posting in forums. I was connecting through people basically through Yahoo groups and forums. And I know, don't spit your
like the dinosaur age of the internet.
It's a little Meg Ryan, Tom Hanks, but it definitely was prehistoric. And it was funny because back then, you know, people talked through forums and through Yahoo groups, and that's kind of how we clustered together and met like-minded people. And then the whole blog thing happened. And I remember reading Apartment Therapy, and I really liked his blog, Maxwell Gilliam Ryan, and I thought it was really interesting, Maxwell Ryan. And I just found it a fascinating kind of forum to be able to speak to people and get your opinions out there. And I had just been doing interior design for only about 1.5 years at that point, as I left my big job for the freelance life. And I thought blogging would be an interesting way for me, not only to talk about what I love, but also to get writing jobs, because I knew I needed to get into journalism to support myself. I couldn't just do design clients all day. I needed to actually write to supplement my income. But magazines didn't take me serious because I didn't have a real portfolio. So I thought, well, let me start a blog so I can just start sort of pitching my blog articles to magazines and saying, okay, this is how I write. These are my opinions. This is how I do it.
So
what do you think?
And, this is how I do it.
Right. It's an earworm. It stuck. And so when I went to Domino, as I had, I don't know, I had kind of this strange amount of self-confidence. I don't know why, but I went right to the top. And I said, you know what, I want to get writing jobs, so I'm just going to go to the gig that I want the most first. And so I went to Domino magazine, and beg them for a job. And I had talked to my editor there, Kathy Halley, and she hired me right away. And I started doing work for their website, not for their blog. They didn't have one yet. So I started writing copy for domino.com. And then I started, I worked for them for 3 years, and then realsimple.com for 3 years. And I just started getting lots of gigs online, writing for HGTV. And then it segued into writing for the Boston Globe, the print newspaper. So I had a full page.
Oh my God, with like your face in a thing?
Everything. It was like amazing. I couldn't believe I was working for the Globe, and it was a big dream of mine. So, you know, I started doing like writing for magazines, writing my blog, and then my blog became a magazine. Then it became really popular and people liked it. And so I started running ads, and then I got approached to do books and then, you know, 11 years later, yeah.
Here you are.
I'm alive.
Did you get that gig at Domino after Decorate really took off? Like, did you have really big numbers at that point?
No, not really big numbers. I think I had 15,000 readers, which was really small. But sort of back then big, because it was still a new thing. I mean, there weren't a lot of design blogs at all. I didn't know I only knew about 6 in the United States, or 7.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so new. No, I didn't have big numbers. I was just ballsy. I was just like, you know what? I want to work with them, and I like them, and I want to deliver content and do something that's valuable and get paid, so I could keep being a freelancer. So I just took any job I could, as long as they paid me. I just took jobs. I started writing copy for Canadian Woman's Magazine about sex and relationships. Never told anyone until today.
Oh my gosh, you're like Carrie Bradshaw.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I want to find those.
I'm going to close my drawers. I don't want you to see what's in my drawers. No, but seriously, like I did a lot of work. Writer to get myself established. So it was really hard work in the beginning. It still is hard work. I think as an entrepreneur, everyone who's sitting there listening to this chat right now, you can probably raise your hand and say, yeah, it's hard work. I mean, because it's different than a desk 9 to 5 where you go into a company every day and they just sort of give you work and you just do it and you know what to expect, and every day is a little different. Yeah, but you know, you don't have to hustle. It's so different when you're an entrepreneur. Like I talk to my husband about this all the time. You have to really, you got to be on all the time, you know, and it's definitely not easy, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and what I'm taking away too from this story is the chutzpah / cojones that you had to say, you know, I want to write, and this is what I want to write about. And so I'm creating my own portfolio. I'm not I'm using my blog as my own portfolio, and then I'm using it to pitch. And the fact that you picked Domino magazine, which was like so huge when it was out, and the only credits that you had was just your own blog and your own writing, is amazing. And I'm hoping everyone that is listening / watching hears that, like, oh yeah, we could create this ourselves. We don't need any other big credits in order to get the big credits. What we need to do is actually just show up and do the work and put it out there.
Yeah.
Like, big time.
It's just interesting how this all, I think, has morphed over the years. And from the beginning, when I started in blogging, wasn't taken serious. No brands cared about us. No one came to us asking us to represent them or market them or promote them or anything. And now you have companies like Target working with Brie Emerly and Joy, and which is amazing. Like when I see Design Love Fest, or when I see Oh Joy represented in the, you know, multi-massive store like Target, I think this is a real testament. I mean, that not only designers, but people who are blogging have an opportunity to go forth and bring their talent to such a wide audience. I mean, Joy is a designer. She was a designer first, and Bree's a designer, also a designer first, but they use their blogs as a catalyst to get themselves to the next level.
Right.
Now these young women, I know they're supporting themselves, their families. And yeah, this is largely, it's sure they're great designers, but these companies are tapping into them because they have that audience and they want a piece of that, and they're smart. Back when I started blogging, no one wanted a piece of this. You know, it's like they just shut the door. I remember
Right.
pitching to so many companies and magazines, and they're just like, "No, blogger, not interested." And now it's different. I mean, it's still hard because there's a lot of people that still don't understand what we do.
Right, right, right.
And there's a lot of bloggers that are not doing a good job. I have to be very
Yeah.
honest about this. I hear this all the time. And I think I'm just going to say it. Today I had an interesting conference call with a company, a very large company, who's hired me to work for them on a promotion. And he said, I have to tell you something, Holly. And I actually wrote it down because I wanted to share it in this call, but I'm not going to tell you who said it.
Oh, that's okay.
He said that he is finding in Germany right now, Germany is a really tough market for blogging. He said for companies to reach bloggers here. He has combed the German market and he's not finding bloggers here that he's impressed by. He gets on the phone with them, he emails them, he said, and they're not professional. He said they don't see themselves as a business. They have a hard time separating personal issues with professional responsibilities. And he said that he wants to work with bloggers who know what they want to charge, who know what they're worth, and who are professional and treat their blog like a business. He does not want to work with people that, he said, call him a day before a campaign and say, I'm sick, I can't do it. How about next month? That's what someone told him today from Berlin. A big blogger I know in Berlin told him this. And this is the problem is
Right.
that, and I'm not the, the blog god, so I'm not saying what everyone should do. It's up to you, it's your business. But when I'm hearing this from large companies, and I've gone to do consulting with large magazines and companies in Europe, and I'm listening to these conversations, a lot of them do not have respect for bloggers, not because they don't have respect for bloggers based on anything other than the way the bloggers are presenting themselves. It's ultimately their fault, not the company. So if anyone's listening to this, don't let your insecurities, your personal issues, your I'm not good enough to ever come into your blog business. You need to stay separate. Be professional and know who you are and how much your services cost and pitch it, because that's what these good companies want. They want a professional. They don't want to work with someone that's, oh, well, I don't know, I'm not sure. They want to know who you are and what's your game. Okay, end rant, hashtag.
No, that's really important to hear. And I think for me,
It
it also brings up that piece of blogging to be a professional blogger and blogging for the benefit of your own business. So it's interesting because I've been consistently blogging since 2008 or so, but it was never to have the career that you have, Holly, with like, let me get, brand sponsors, let me get advertising sponsors, let me go in and, do consulting and whatever about blogging. It was more for like, I'm a coach, I want to use the blog to help with my coaching business. But it's interesting because hearing the super unprofessional way these bloggers are handling this client, it makes me wonder, well, what do they have their blog for? Because if you were doing a great job blogging and you're getting approached by these brands or these sponsors, if that's not your thing, that's not what you want, then you're allowed and able and encouraged to say, you know what, this isn't like, thanks so much, I'll keep your information on file if and when I take sponsors or if and when I start working with brands, but actually to not what I do. Thanks so much for your inquiry.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so important. And on a positive note, there are a lot of bloggers that are doing really good work. I just met one, I've known her for a while, but I met her in person, Mary Middleton. I met her a while ago, but we met in Berlin. We went to interview Massimo Bottura, who's the big chef, one of the #1 chefs in the world right now. And I was on a trip there and met her, and I met, what's his name again? Oh, he's going to kill me for forgetting his name. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say who he was because he's going to kill me. But yeah, so I met another guy who's a blogger from Scandinavia, and he was lovely and super professional, super nice. Mary is super professional, super nice. And this is like the caliber. These are the types of people that you want to model yourself after. You want to be professional. You want to exhibit professionalism at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And do your blog as a business. Be proud of it. You know,
Right.
that's why not? You built this up. People are coming to you. That means something. You know, they're not coming to you
Absolutely.
because they don't want you. They're coming to you because they want you. So that should already break that barrier you have about, am I good enough? Well, yeah, you're good enough. They came to you.
Right.
Hello, hello, hello. You know, they came to you. Yeah, you're good enough. Okay, get that in your head and deal with that. Deal with that truth. They came to you. So get
Yes.
past that whole thing of, am I good enough? Because if they came to you and they want to work with you, know your rates, pitch it, do it, be done with it. And you know what? The best thing about fear is every time you conquer a fear, you get stronger and stronger and stronger.
That's
And
true.
those issues you have get further back, because every time you're a success, you're getting stronger and more confident. And then you get to a point into your career, like where I'm at, and people come to me and they say, this is what I want to pay you. And I say, I don't want the
Mhm.
job. I'm not interested. Thank you very much. Because I have enough confidence and courage now to do that. And that's because I've had to work at this for so many years. The defeat and the success, it all builds your character. So you have to just write
Absolutely.
it and
Absolutely.
see what happens.
I like to say that time plus experience equals trust and confidence. And unfortunately, there's no other way to build your trust and confidence other than time and experience. Keep showing up, keep doing your work, keep having the successes, keep having the failures, but learn from everything, move forward. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
We have a lot of great questions coming through, so let's just jump right into them. Andy said, I've blogged on and off over the years, but I just started the one that is connected with the launch of my new business. I made my third post. I got all kinds of amazing feedback and excitement, and now I'm terrified I can't follow it up. Do you have any tips on how to sustain being interesting and relevant?
Yeah. The way to stay interesting and relevant is to live a life that you find interesting. If you're bored with your life, if you're not really happy inside, this goes to like a whole new level.
Mhm.
If you're not happy in here and you're not liking what you do on a daily basis, you've got to change that, because that is running through you and channeling into your fingers and onto your keyboard and into the words that appear on your blog. We can't run from it. When we're writers, it's an art, and it's something that comes from our heart, and whatever we're feeling, whatever's going on the inside can definitely come out through our writing. So if our writing is becoming boring, that means we're becoming boring. So we have to start living our life. We have to go out, go to the museum. Like here we have free Fridays for museums, so you can just go to any museum in our city for free. You know, take advantage of things like that. Sometimes you just need to get out of your whatever you're in. Like if you're in design, then go to the zoo. You know, if you're into yoga, then go to the art museum. Sometimes you have to step away from what you're in and go into something else and observe what's happening in that area. And then it gives you life again. It gives you goals and it gives you zeal, and then you can sit down and you become relevant again and interesting because you just took in the new art exhibit, so you have something to talk about. Or you just saw a pattern at the zoo and you found that so interesting and it made you think about interiors in a different way. Or, you know, try to make all these connections to your work when you're out. Take photos on Instagram, talk to people, go to meetups. There's so many blogger meetups. There's so many opportunities to meet people, take online classes. You know, there's so many things that you can do to stay fresh. You just have to do one thing. Do it.
Right. Right. Exactly. And you reminded me too of when I first started my blog in 2008. I think because I was blogging to support my life coaching business, I definitely put my mask on and I was like, I need my blog to show everyone that I have my life all figured out and I don't have any problems. And if they hire me as their life coach, I will. It was so boring. It was so boring. And after blogging for like 3 or 4 months, I went, oh, I wouldn't read this blog. It's so boring. Why is it so boring? And I realized I was being so inauthentic. I was not being myself. I was trying to hide these things about me, like I wasn't certified yet and I was working a full-time job and, you know, I was a failed actor, blah, blah, blah. And once I said, you know what, I'm putting that all out on the table. This is part of my story and part of who I am. Then I found my people and I found my tribe, and people were resonating with what I was talking about. And it felt so good to show up on my blog in that way. And Blogging Your Way really helped me with that too. And seeing like, what do I authentically want to write about? That's still connected to the career piece that I want to talk about on my blog, but is like connected to my personality and like what I'm going through and what I want to be sharing.
Yeah. And also, I think along with telling your personal story, it also has to do with allowing other parts of your life to be seen. You know, I think it's
Yeah.
like one thing I love is I like following Richard Branson from Virgin.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Fascinating because he jumps out of planes and he does crazy stuff, and he's so he's interesting. And then of course, you know, it's never a hardship to follow David Beckham on social media.
Right, right.
But he's also, besides the abs and the whole package, and by the way, my friend Leslie and I sat in a restaurant in London last year, and we watched him walk by with bags of candles and get into his nice car and cruise off. But anyway, but Richard Branson and David Beckham, all the different things that they're involved in, charitable work and helping others. And Tony Robbins, you know, he's such a dynamic coach, and he's helping people and he cares about people. And don't you think that that's really what the calling is, or the call to action is now currently as a blogger or as anyone involved in social media? Our call to action is caring. It's showing people we're interested not only in sharing our story, but what's your story? You know, who are you?
Right. Right.
That's important. Like, it's not just about us. It's not about us getting more brands to like us and more money and more likes. And honest to God, this is so boring. It's about changing people's lives, making people feel alive and creative and thinking about their future and thinking about the things that they love, or maybe figuring out what they're all about and what direction they're going to. I mean, it's not just about us. And I think that's really our call to action as bloggers, especially those of us who are established like I am. It's not just about, oh, buy my new stuff today, buy my new products. It's about, what can I do for you? You know, besides just giving you stuff to buy, what can I do for you today? And if you go into whatever you're doing with the idea of how can I help others through what I'm writing, what advice can I give? What tip can I give? When I shoot a picture on Instagram, is it because I want to show off and make other people feel bad? Or do I want to show something on Instagram that's going to make people feel good? Because people want to feel good. You know, inherently we want to feel better. And if the people we follow make us feel better about ourselves, then we're going to get more people interested in us. So it's definitely something that we benefit by, but it has to be sincere.
I love this. And this leads into Shelley's question, which is, how do I get myself out there and get followers, readers, without feeling pushy or too forward? And I feel like you already partially answered that with being charitable and being authentic and sharing our personal stories. But is there any other advice that you have in order to find your audience, find your people?
Yeah, there is. You really need to think about like what apps you're using, which ones you enjoy, which ones are the most interesting and the easiest for you. Right now, a lot of people are gravitating towards Instagram, and Instagram, I think, is an interesting platform because they're adding so much to it. Like they've added this new feature where you can have like, you know, sliding photos.
Yeah. All of a sudden I noticed that. Yeah.
It just popped on my mind yesterday. So it gives you an opportunity to have like a little gallery of up to 10 photos or videos where you can show more than just that one picture. This gives you such an opportunity to be creative. You know, you could show like a photo shoot from start to finish. You can advertise things for your clients in such an interesting, creative way, or you can do stuff for yourself and just showing a party that you just went to, or you had a birthday party for your son. Instead of showing 20 pictures on your stream of your little boy blowing out the birthday candles, you just show them all in one gallery in one photo. So you have such an opportunity with social media. I mean, I didn't have this. When I started blogging, it was like Etsy wasn't even around yet. We had no Facebook. There was no such thing. I mean, I wasn't carrying like this around.
No Twitter, right, exactly.
We had our blog, the end. That was it. And now you guys have everything, and there's just so much being developed on a daily basis, and technology is just
Mhm.
going crazy right now, and there's so many opportunities. So the short form answer to that question is find the platforms that resonate with you and that are kind of easy for you to get going on, and just
Mhm.
start focusing on like two and
Mhm.
see how that goes, and then spread out from there if you wish. But
I love
for
that
me, I
advice.
put a lot of my focus on Instagram and Facebook, and of course my blog, and then Pinterest, and then like LinkedIn, and then but the primary ones are of course Instagram, Facebook, and
Mhm. So I know your answer to this question already because this was something we talked about in October that no one else got to hear about when we had our technical problems. But
okay.
I know I'm building this up. Why do we need a blog right now? Because we have Twitter and we have Facebook and we have Instagram and we have Pinterest. So like, you know, I have clients that, and I'm surprised this question didn't come through yet, that are like, oh, I'm so scared of blogging, or like, I want to write. That's a really big thing. Can I just like only do Instagram instead? Can I just be on Facebook? And I want to hear your answer to this again, because I think it's amazing.
Well, yeah, you do. You need your blog because I mean, I know like right now, a lot of the young people that are getting into all this, they're not really into blogging, and
Hmm.
maybe they think, it's old school or whatever, but who cares? Like, I think for me, it's critical to have a single platform that you're managing and running, and it's your Michelle show, it's the Holly
Uh-huh.
show, it's your show. And whether or not Instagram decides to crash and burn tomorrow or get sold and becomes a really awful platform, or another, MySpace tragedy or
Uh-huh.
whatever, don't sell everything to one platform. If you keep your blog running, then you can play on all the other platforms and do every
Right.
other thing. But you always have your blog, and your blog is archiving everything. And
Hmm.
and of course Google is finding you through your blog and finding all of your content through your blog. So I always say keep blogging. You don't have to blog like 30 times a day anymore to get seen,
Right.
but blog 3 to 5 times a week if you really want to get yourself out there. A little less if you're using other platforms more, but yeah, definitely keep blogging.
I love that answer. And that makes a lot of sense to me, because your blog is your place and no one's going to F with it.
No, no one's going to just take it down, or
Mhm.
things aren't just going to change overnight. I mean,
Mhm.
look at Flickr. I had so many followers on Flickr, and we were like a community, man. We were like, nice capture,
And
great
what
job.
happened?
Like we had people. And then 2010 came around, and it's
Done. Over.
crickets.
Over.
Over.
Over. Over. I just want to remind everyone in the chat again, that blue button with the drop down, make sure it says everyone. Otherwise, I see some good stuff coming up on the chat, but it just says to all panelists, which means only Holly and I are seeing it. But I love what Danny wrote here. Our blog is our home. All the other social media are the places we like to hang out. That's how I think. So I love that sort of reference, that the blog is the main place. And I know for me, the blog is my home, and then my other social media outlets all kind of point back to the blog. So my newsletter points back to my blog content. My Instagram post points back to what I wrote on my blog. I pin my blog content onto my Pinterest board. I put it up on Facebook and Twitter. So I love that analogy. That's a really, I think, great way to think of that.
Yeah, and you also think too, like, okay, what do you do if you've got 45 million followers on Instagram and
Mm-hmm.
you're a real star, but in a year from now, people are onto the new platform because there's
Right.
something new and shiny that came along.
Right.
Where are those 50 million people? Are they going to automatically refollow you on the new platform? Is it going to, will it work that way? And that's always like the question you have to kind of ask is, yeah, build it up, hang out on these other platforms, build your profile, build your likes, your shares, whatever, but still
Mm-hmm.
always have your blog as that foundation.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Ramona has a great question too. And I love seeing all these questions coming in, you guys, so keep them coming. She says, I've been writing a blog for over 10 years that has just focused on my photography and life observation, but I'm currently taking life coaching certification. I'll eventually want to transition to promoting my business. Wondering if you have any thoughts about that, how to handle that transition.
Transitioning a photography blog into a business?
Into like supporting her life coaching business.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can answer that question because you're the life coach. Like, how have you done?
Well, it's interesting because I think what I'm really taking away from our conversation together is that your blog is you. And so I'd be really surprised if Ramona said to her audience, okay, like you're still going to see these photos from me, you're still going to get my observations, but now I'm going to be talking more about life coachy things, or now I'm going to be talking, because that's all part of her story. So I always say with my clients who have to do something similar, I always say, like, let's put up a post that's kind of a new announcement of like, hey, this is now going to be the new direction of the blog. And I'm still going to be sharing X, Y, and Z, and I might be sharing a little less of A, B, and C. But this is what you could expect. And I'm really excited about it. And if you're on board, great, stick around. And if you're not, then like, that's okay too. And you could unsubscribe or go find your other people or whatever. But kind of preparing your audience for that shift. But at the end of the day, I would still say, like, still share your photos, still share your life observations, just kind of add whatever life coachy things you want to be talking about.
Yeah, you could also start like, like a Friday column or a certain day of the week where you're having a column that's all about life coaching. And in that column, you can show lifestyle photography that you shot that kind of supports, like if your theme this week is health and wellness, then you show some photos that kind of get that point across. Or if your theme is, mindfulness or whatever, you can also have your photography supporting your copy. And then people know that once a week on Fridays, that's when they're going to come to your blog and they're going to learn more about your coaching and what you're doing with coaching. You also could have another day of the week where if you really want to start getting more and more into coaching, using your blog as sort of a catalyst for this, then what you could do is you could have a couple of days a week where you're just sharing your photography, maybe recent jobs you've done, and then a couple of days a week where you have that column where you're talking about coaching topic, and then another column where maybe you're actually coaching someone, like you're answering a question for your reader, or maybe it could even be photography coaching. So your coaching could be for photographers. You could talk about something along the lines of, how do you stay relevant as a photographer, and how do you get your business promoted as a photographer? If that's the direction you want your coaching to go in, you could start coaching your own peers. And people really like to share content like that because they're learning, and anything educational, people enjoy sharing, and they also enjoy reading. Again, it's you always have to think about whatever you're doing, what value can I bring to my reader? It's not about you showing off your portfolio and just dropping content. It's about what can I give someone that's valuable, because there's so much out there. You have to stand out. What can you give that's valuable?
Do you think that's the secret sauce in terms of, oh, baby's awake?
That's my little boy. I think he wanted to come in.
He wanted to come and say hi. He's more than welcome to.
Keep talking. I'm going to show you something from today.
Okay, I would love to see it. Do you think that's the secret sauce in terms of standing out in a saturated market? And I hear this all the time from clients, especially when they're talking about blogging, and they go like, oh, but I'm one of a million life coaches, or, design bloggers, or photography blogs or whatever. Like, how can I be different?
Yeah, well, okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this.
Please.
I don't think about this when I'm working. I never think about when I'm delivering a pitch to a client, or I'm working for a company, I'm working for myself, I'm doing a book, whatever. I don't think of the other authors. I don't think of the other great blogs. They're all back there somewhere. When I'm parenting, I don't think about the other moms and what they do. I've always been a real independent person when it comes to this, and it's helped me in my business because I don't measure myself against other people. I measure myself against me and what my standards are. I say that when it comes to all of this, it's so important that you think about, you're bringing content to people on a daily basis that's meaningful to you, and it's valuable to you. And you have to really think about, what are you delivering? What are you adding? What can you do to become more interesting? And when it comes to all of this too, I mean, I just think it's so important that you don't devalue yourself. Like, you really think about who you are and what you have. Don't devalue your work or yourself. Get out there and promote who you are and what you're doing, and don't devalue that for a minute. And that's something that I've never done. I don't devalue my work. I don't think about, because if you sit around and you think about all of your competition all the time, you will make zero progress. I mean, you think that every single musician isn't up against a wall of other musicians. Every single creative field, any field in the world, is up against millions. I mean, if everybody said, oh, who needs another song? I'm not going to write a song. Or everybody said, who needs another book? I'm not going to write. I mean, you could talk yourself in and out of anything, because there's already a billion people before you that have done it. It's the same with blogging. There's a billion of us. Billions. Who cares? Like who cares? Don't think about that. It's just only one you. And that's the person that you have to focus on. What are you able to do, and how can you become your best at what you do? Forget about the rest.
Bam.
And this isn't just like, pep talking. This is exactly how I feel. Like, this isn't verbal garbage. This is true stuff. Because there's a lot of people out there that preach, and they're like running around and saying this is how they are, but they don't mean it. I mean it. This is probably one of the reasons why I've been successful for so many years, is because I mean this. I don't measure myself against other people. I mean, you would die if you do that. You just can't. You can't live like that.
And you remind me too of something that I talk to my clients about when they start writing their blogs, in terms of like them feeling really frozen as to what are they going to write about, and like they're writing to everyone in the world, and it's like they think about their competition and they're going, oh my God, I have to be different than this person and this person. But instead, when they get really clear as to who specifically they're writing to, then all of a sudden they go, oh, I know how to write this piece, because now I'm talking to one person. So I love that we're keeping our eyes on our own paper and tapping into our own story, authenticity, tone, message, whatever. But at the same time, if you focus on who you ideally want at the other end of that blog post, then it just makes things a lot more open and easy.
Yeah, and think of each blog post as sort of an individual project. So you write a post, it's a project, it's done. You don't look back. You don't think of what you could have done better. You don't read it, revise it, edit it, nothing. Your project's done, move on, and you do your next blog post. And I think that's really important too. Like, don't always question your work. Keep improving, but don't question yourself so much. I think, unfortunately, our gender tends to be really self-critical, and in ways that I think even my husband says, like, he just doesn't think about that stuff.
Right.
I don't think like that.
And is it safe to say too that as a blogger, if you're going to be a consistent blogger for years, you do not have to be so precious with every single thing that you're writing, because eventually things get buried, things get forgotten about, or you could go back through your own blog and go like, oh, I don't love this post anymore from a year ago. Let's just like take it down, and it's not a big deal. And like, I think we put so much pressure on ourselves that every post has to be perfect. And like, yes, from what we spoke to before, it needs to be professional, and it needs to be a good representation of who you are and what you want to. But if it's not like the world's best post over and over multiple times a week for years, like, that's okay. We need to take the pressure off ourselves. It's not what we're going for.
And that comes to all social platforms. Like, you're not going to nail it every time, but I do think you should always strive to be your best, but you can't strive to be perfect. Just strive to be your best. Strive to do it a little bit better, or put a little bit more thought into it from last time.
Yes.
And because that's good for you. I don't do this for people. I do this for me. Like, I like to challenge myself, or I get bored. Like, my head would be on the desk in 5 minutes. I'm doing things today that I did last year. I would die of boredom and end up, clinically depressed and probably institutionalized, because I can't work like that. Like, I can't keep pumping out the same shit over and over again. Like I've got to try new things. And right now I'm in a professional, I kind of in this place where I need to not reinvent myself because, you know, I'm not reinvent anything, but definitely looking to like see what's next for me. Like, what should I do? Should I do video? Should I do, you know, like podcasting more? What should I do? And I'm thinking about like, what's the next direction for me? And I'm really interested to see what the answers from the universe will come back to be.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Definitely, and now I'm not really, I mean, I'm a blogger, but I'm the blog is the backup now, you know, the blog is like, is the supporting actor now, you know, it's not the lead anymore. Because my career is the lead, and what I'm doing with consulting and writing, that's my career now. I'm a writer, I'm a consultant, and I'm a stylist. That's what I do professionally, get paid for living. My blog is just taking the back seat, but it's still there, and I still write on it, and it's still very important to me, but I'm not a full-time blogger in the same sense that I was 10 years ago. And that's okay.
Yep, I love it. Evolution. And this makes us, you know, highly creative, very intelligent, multi-passionate women super happy, and why I think us having our own businesses and using our blog as our main marketing tool is just such a no-brainer, because it could evolve with us based on the new goals that we have for ourselves.
Yeah, and you have to let it evolve, because a lot of my students are always asking me, well, what happens if I want to start writing about my child on my blog now? I have a new baby and I want to bring that into the equation. And a lot of people say, well, no, you know, you really should stick to your content and you really should stick to your thing. And now I'm telling people, you know what, dude, like, you've got to evolve. And if you're not writing about stuff that's interesting to you, that's going to show. So you're going to lose readers anyway. So if you want to write about your baby once a week in a special little post, and maybe, you know, baby Thursday, you know, then do it. Like, people aren't going to just mass exodus outside of, you know, run out of your blog and just disown you, you know. If you turn your design blog into baby toy blog, you will lose readers. Absolutely. But if you do add something that's a part of your life to your blog, and you do it a certain time a week or once a week or whatever, that's only going to make your blog more interesting, but also more interesting to you. Because remember, you got to please yourself first. Self-care, self-confidence, oxygen mask on yourself before you help others. Self. It's not selfish to think about yourself. Self-care isn't selfish. It's actually the opposite. Self-care is giving to others. Self-care is when you take care of yourself, the little people around you, the big people around you, everybody in your life feels service now and feels cared for, because you take good care of yourself. And it's the same thing with your blog. It's the same thing with your blog.
Bam.
Write about what you love. Service yourself first, and your readers will either like it or they don't. But then you may find new readers.
Exactly.
And you may have more readers than ever, because now you're writing about something that you really love. So I wouldn't be scared to add something, the content to your blog or topics to your blog that you don't already speak about, if that's what you're passionate for.
Oh, I love this advice more than anything, because to me, it also brings home how we need to shut down the shoulds. We need to just shut them down, because if they're not servicing us and our goals and how we want to engage with our people and what we want to write about, then like, what are we even doing? What are we even doing? Okay, so I want to take this question from Sandy, because I think for those of you guys who are here who want to charge brands and put a value on your blog and start working with clients, you are like the person to answer this question. Holly, how do you figure out how much your blog is worth? How do you figure out what to charge as a blogger?
Well, what I did was I hired a professional who worked with a big consulting firm in the United States who does publicity and stuff for blogs and blogger outreach. I hired her for a period of 6 months to manage my ads and to help me to kind of understand what the market rates are, what people are getting paid, because I'm living in a whole different market now. I'm living in Germany. I'm an American, and I'm living in Deutschland. And so my world is completely different. And that is also influenced by my working world, like the way people work here and the way people pay people here
Mm.
is very different. The rates in Europe are very different than the rates in the United States. What a blogger can do $10,000 post in America for a big company, you're probably going to get 3,000 in Europe. You know, so you're getting like a third. You get like a third of what you get paid. I mean, yeah, there's definitely bloggers. I mean, a lot of your favorite bloggers are making 10 to 15,000 per sponsored post.
Wow.
You know, and there's some who are making 6,000 or 8,000 a sponsored post, and there's people who are making 2,000 for a sponsored post, and there's people making $50.
Yes.
You need to, I would say you need to talk to someone who's doing blogger outreach, marketing, whatever. Find someone in that world and talk to them and see what the rates are in your country and what people are pitching as far as numbers. And then determine, based on your following and your statistical data, determine, like, you know, how much money am I worth, and start pitching, and pitch a little high. I always pitched high because I still pitch high. Okay. Secret's out. I pitch high. No, really. Because the funny thing is, well, I was recently offered a job for 500 euros. And I knew I was worth more than 500 euros, and I knew this job was worth more than 500 euros. And so I went back and I said, I won't do it for anything less than 12,000 euros. And they wrote me back and they said, well, we need to talk to our accounting. So I thought, whoa, like, you're really going to take this to the men.
Wow.
So I was sitting there. 24 hours later, I got the contract. I went from a 500 euro pitch that they pitched to me 500 euros to 12,000, and I signed it and got paid. So, but that's I'm not showing off. I'm saying that.
No, well, of course, but you're valuing your worth.
Yeah, well, you know your value, but also, despite how big you are online or how well you're known or what your following is or whatever. I mean, nowadays, compared to a lot of these Instagram chicks, I don't have any following. I have like 85,000 followers on Instagram. That's nothing compared to some of these selfie queens that have like 50 million.
Right.
But I still know my value because I've been around for 11 years and my brand is strong and people know who I am. They trust me, the confidence, and I can get more because of who I am and also my, you know, background. The point is that if people will come to me and offer me 500 for a 12,000 euro job, then what are they doing to bloggers who have half my reach or even less? So that's where, just understand that, you know, these people will come to you and pitch you things that you just make you cringe, and you just have to know your value and come back to them and say, no, I will not do it. And then they come back, and sometimes you win the job and sometimes you don't.
Right.
Yes, who wants a job for that anyway?
Exactly. Well, and I love, Holly, and I see your posts about this stuff on Facebook fairly often, that like you really are very transparent online with the pitches that you get and the offers that you get that are ridiculous and low and insulting, and more brands that basically just want free work, and how you respond to them. I'm always like, yes. And I just love how you are sharing those stories and what you're doing and what you're counteracting with, so that your audience and, you know, new bloggers who are following you or even seasoned bloggers are able to say, oh, right, it's not okay to be asked to do this major project for exposure or for only 500 euros when it's something that will wound up being accepted for, you know, 12,000.
Yeah. And you know what too is, I think it's just important that you always, you know, outside of knowing your value, it's important that you think big picture. You think about, you know, if I take this job, how many hours is it going to cost? How many hours will it take me? You know, you think about your travel time, you think about your prep time, you think about the new dress you got to put on to buy, to be there. You know, you have to put all that money together, and you have to think very big picture. And then that's also how you can get your price structure together. Right. You know, if someone pitches to you, if someone comes to you and says, I want you to shoot this for your blog and I want you to promote this, you have to sit down. You have to reasonably say, okay, well, how long is this going to take me? Okay, I've got to get the props. I've got to arrange the props. I have to shoot it. I have to post-process process the photos, upload them, blah, 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 write the copy, do the social media sharing. Okay, this job's going to take me approximately 2 days. Okay, 16 hours. Okay, how much do I want to earn per hour? Okay.
Right.
Then you have a number that you can go to a client and say, okay, you know, this is, I don't work for anything less than 600 a day. This is my rate as a stylist. So I'll do the job for 1,200. If you want social sharing, I'm going to tack on an extra 500 because I have 50,000 followers on Instagram. And that general rule is $100 per 10,000 followers on Instagram. So after 100,000, it's anybody's guess. You can charge whatever you want, but up to 100,000, you generally charge around 100 per 10,000. So if you've got 85,000 people, you charge about $800 to do something for social media for a company up through your Instagram. So then that's how you kind of start to think about your prices. You have to start doing the math and thinking big picture.
Love it. Love it. Okay, we're going to take this one last question before we wrap up. I knew this hour was going to fly by, but I love this question from Danny. Danny says, there are days I'm very passionate about writing. I have lots of ideas and everything is inspiring, but then there are other days where I'm not feeling it. I can't get inspired by the ideas that I took note of. How did you manage writing consistently? Did you used to batch? What was your schedule like? And we touched on this a little bit and the advice you gave when you're not feeling inspired, you're not feeling in the flow, you need to like get out of yourself and kind of do something different and go have an activity. But I'd love to hear a little bit more as to like what your schedule is like and how you deal with the different kind of ebb and flows in your writing.
Okay, so before I did this call, I wasn't feeling very inspired. I really didn't know if I wanted to do this call because my child got into my makeup and came out, and this is what he did.
No, stop it. Oh my God. Oh my God.
And he came out looking like the Joker, and he looked up at me with big eyes and said, "Mama, Mama, now I look just like you." And it took me 45 minutes to clean his face because it's long wearing lipstick.
Oh my God.
So that was what happened before this call. And I wasn't feeling so inspired to talk to people today about blogging. But then you put yourself into something and you force yourself, and before you know it, game is strong, you're in it, you know? And I think that's two things you have to do. There are some days that are going to suck, okay? And you have nothing to say. You're depressed, you want to die, whatever it is. That's human nature. Give yourself a break. Step away from social media, the computer, whatever. Go take a walk. Do something where there's fresh air and external feedback, stimuli. You need that. You don't want to be alone when you're not feeling good. Go out, do something. Even if it's the museum and you're with paintings, you're not alone. Do something that's going to make you feel better. Don't push it. You should never push yourself too hard in the creative sense when you're not feeling it. Sometimes you will be stronger when you leave whatever it is you're doing, you step away from it and you come back later. Sometimes your game is much stronger if you just take a pause. But there are other times when you need to fulfill. Like today, I made this appointment with you. This was done. I couldn't say, I'm tired, I'm sick, I can't do it. I had to step in and do it. So what did I do? Well, you know, I just thought, okay, well, this is something that I need to do. I really want to give people something to think about. I want to bring something special to people. I don't do these calls hardly. This is the first live stream I've ever done in my life. And so I thought, let me just do it, you know, and I just mentally prepped myself and said, I'm going to do it. And I did it. And, you know, that's just sometimes you have to push. And that gets back to what I said earlier about how if you're professional, there are times when you do have to push. You do have to show up and fulfill that contract or go to that shoot and be there at a certain time. You can't just wimp out and you know, you can. But with blogging, you know, sometimes with blogging, it's so flexible and you don't have to push yourself. Another thing is you can also write posts in advance and just have them kind of in the background, and whenever you need to pull something out and you can't pull it out of here, you just pull it out of your blog, you know, and you have those special posts that are just waiting there to be published.
Yeah, I love that. I know for me, when I know it's time to get a post up, and I have to get it up and I'm not feeling the flow, I set a timer for 45 minutes because science has proven that that's enough time for you to trick your brain into saying it's only 45 minutes.
She blinded me with science.
I love science. And so it tricks your brain into saying it's only 45 minutes, but it allows you to make progress on your thing. And normally I could get a blog post written in 45 minutes, but then I also let myself start anywhere. So sometimes if I'm like, oh, I can't figure out what the beginning of this post is, I'll know I'm writing like 5 ways to do blah, blah, blah. And I'll just start like first way, second way, third way, and filling, and then all of a sudden I have a blog post. So sometimes just making yourself kind of get in there, giving yourself permission to start wherever you want to. But I love that piece. There are times where I just like hit up on those deadlines because I was like, I don't feel it. I don't feel it today. I'm not going to write. That's okay. Hopefully I'll feel it tomorrow. Until it gets to the point where it's like, okay, I got to write something. And now
step away from the blog.
Exactly.
Step away.
Exactly.
Step away. Because
exactly.
if you don't, you're going to start hating it. You will start hating the internet. The internet will be in your dreams at night. No, really, you'll
no, it's true.
And you don't want to hate the internet. So you need to unplug sometimes. It's like any relationship. You know, if you're constantly with your man or your woman or your kid or any other human being, you kind of get a little, you know, I'm kind of sick of you, get out of my face. And that's how it is with the internet. And do we really think that this is tied to us all the time? I mean, I have it on my nightstand. That's ridiculous.
Right.
You know, I bring this to the bathroom. I'm in the tub.
We all do. We all do, girl.
Praying to God that my Instagram doesn't cost me my phone because I'm in the tub and I'm like, not tub selfies. I don't do that, but
don't drop in the water. Don't drop in the water. Don't drop in the water. Right.
But seriously, like people bring this to the bathroom. And you know what's even funnier? I saw this product that's been developed by this Korean company. They were at the big fair I was just at, the Ambienta, and they have a new toilet paper holder that has a shelf for your phone. And I was like, that's the truth.
That's amazing. Right. That's our lives now.
We're glued, but is that good?
Yeah.
Is that good? Is that really what life is all about? Is it constantly about connecting? Like sometimes you kind of need to disconnect too, because all of this connecting, you just start becoming a hive mentality and you're all thinking like the other person. So disconnect, ladies and gents.
We are ending there. And I also want to remind everyone that when you see the recording in your inbox in a few hours, there's going to be a homework PDF for you to download with 3 exercises from Holly. I know you don't remember this because you gave this to me back in October when we were supposed to have this. You gave it to us in October, but it's all about like exercises to like reconnect with your blog and make your blog like fun and wonderful and authentic again. So don't look at that email and be like, oh, I was on the call, so I don't need the recording. No, open it and download that homework, because that's going to get the shoulds out of your head. That's going to allow you to reconnect with your blog and, you know, do what you want to do with it. Make it fun and exciting. And Arwen also just put in the chat, go check out Blogging Your Way. It starts next week. I could tell you as a former student that it is killer. So if you have resonated with what Holly has said and you go to her website and you're just swooning over everything, like go take Blogging Your Way. It's awesome. And it's going to be amazing boost for your blog. And her site is Becker8blog.com, and I'm at whenigrowupcoach.com. And next month for the Women of the World series, you guys are all signed up now for my Future Women of the World series. We're talking to Alexandra Franzen about copywriting with heart. So I hope you guys are here live, because that'll also be about writing with heart. That we could connect back to your blog. And then I'll be talking to Jenny Blake in April about pivoting in your career. And I have a whole lot of guests lined up already. So Holly, you're incredible. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being here ×2.
Weird.
So appreciate it. And thank you guys for joining us live. We hope you have fun. And we'll
Danny and Jody and Shelly and Bridget and Pia and Oh my God, that's amazing. Look at the nice people that logged in. Thank you guys for being
Yeah,
with
so
us.
many. And please, it's not too late. Put your URLs in the chat, because I'm going to also put the chat in with the recording. So anyone that accesses the recording could also open up the chat and get your URLs for your blog. So I love it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you, Holly. And thank you everyone for being here live and making this so
Bye.
fun.
Keep in touch, y'all. Bye.
Bye. Have a great Friday.